This part of the unit recognizes that occupational health and safety improvement is not driven by legislation alone. While governments create and enforce laws, a significant proportion of real-world influence comes from non-governmental bodies, voluntary standards, pressure groups, professional organizations, and ethical expectations placed on organizations by society.
Non-governmental bodies are organizations that operate independently from state control. They include charities, professional institutions, trade unions, pressure groups, research bodies, and advocacy organizations. Although NGOs do not have formal legislative authority, they influence health and safety through guidance, public campaigning, benchmarking, research, voluntary standards, and reputational pressure. In many parts of the world, particularly where enforcement is limited or inconsistent, NGOs play a crucial role in raising awareness of poor working conditions, unsafe practices, and ethical failures. Their influence often fills the gap where legal systems are slow to adapt or lack resources. NGOs are typically managed using diversity management and participatory management approaches. Diversity management reflects the fact that NGOs often operate internationally, across different cultures, legal systems, and economic environments. Participatory management encourages inclusion, consultation, and shared ownership, which aligns with their mission-driven purpose and reliance on stakeholder credibility. These management approaches enable NGOs to remain adaptable, responsive, and connected to the populations they seek to influence or protect. The relationship between NGOs and business is complex and variable. Some NGOs work closely with organizations and industry groups, while others adopt an adversarial role. Certain NGOs are established or supported by business associations, whereas activist NGOs operate independently and challenge unacceptable practices. Many large organizations now engage NGOs through partnerships, consultation, and funding arrangements. This engagement may be driven by reputational risk, ethical commitments, or pressure from consumers and investors. At the same time, NGOs have become increasingly skilled at public accountability, using research, social media, and global campaigns to influence organizational behavior. International labor standards have a broad reach beyond national legislation. They influence global industries such as shipping, construction, and manufacturing, forming the basis for inspections, trade conditions, and international financing requirements. Financial institutions, trade bodies, and international organizations integrate labor standards into funding conditions and development programs. Pressure groups and NGOs use these standards as reference points when challenging unsafe or unethical practices and lobbying for reform. International labor standards have a broad reach beyond national legislation. They influence global industries such as shipping, construction, and manufacturing, forming the basis for inspections, trade conditions, and international financing requirements. Financial institutions, trade bodies, and international organizations integrate labor standards into funding conditions and development programs. Pressure groups and NGOs use these standards as reference points when challenging unsafe or unethical practices and lobbying for reform. NGOs are commonly categorized as operational organizations delivering practical support, advocacy groups promoting policy change, trade unions representing workers, professional institutions promoting competence and ethics, and pressure groups mobilizing public opinion. Employers and workers' organizations also play a key role by influencing consultation, collective representation, and the balance of power in occupational health and safety decision-making. The media has become one of the most powerful external influences on health and safety performance. Traditional and digital media shape public perception, amplify incidents, and apply immediate pressure on organizations following failures. Media attention can rapidly transform a workplace incident into a reputational crisis, causing loss of trust, regulatory scrutiny, and financial impact. As a result, organizations increasingly recognize that effective health and safety management is essential for protecting reputation and continuity. Adverse publicity following accidents or unsafe practices can have long-lasting consequences. These include loss of consumer confidence, falling share prices, increased insurance costs, regulatory action, and criminal prosecution. Health and safety failures therefore represent both moral and business risks. Stakeholders are individuals or groups affected by organizational activities. Poor health and safety performance often leads to poor business performance through lost productivity, compensation costs, legal action, reputational damage, and reduced investor confidence. Stakeholder health and safety concerns are closely linked to the ethical responsibilities of an organization and can have significant adverse effects on business performance if not effectively managed. Ethical issues within business operate across three interconnected levels: the macro level, the organizational or social responsibility level, and the individual level. At the macro level, ethical concerns relate to the role of business within national and international society. Organizations operate within wider economic and political systems, whether in free market economies or centrally controlled systems, and their operations can have far-reaching social, environmental, and health impacts. Decisions made at this level influence employment standards, working conditions, and public trust, and they shape how society views the legitimacy and responsibility of business activities. Within the broader macro context, organizations also have social responsibilities towards their stakeholders. This includes balancing the often competing expectations of different stakeholder groups, such as workers, regulators, investors, customers, and the wider community. Managing health and safety risks is a key part of this responsibility, as poor performance can lead to injury, ill health, reputational damage, legal action, and financial loss. Organizations that fail to address stakeholder concerns may suffer reduced confidence, higher costs, and long-term damage to sustainability. At the individual level, ethical issues are influenced by the behavior, decisions, and actions of people within the organization. This includes directors, managers, supervisors, and workers whose attitudes towards health and safety directly affect workplace practice. Individual ethical behavior determines whether policies are followed, risks are reported, and unsafe practices are challenged. A weak ethical culture at this level can undermine even the strongest systems and controls. Overall, stakeholder health and safety concerns highlight the importance of ethical decision-making at all levels of business. Addressing these concerns proactively not only protects people from harm, but also helps organizations avoid adverse business impacts, strengthen trust, and support long-term organizational success. The ethical stance of an organization describes how far it is willing to go beyond its minimum legal obligations when considering the needs and expectations of its stakeholders. This stance directly influences how occupational health and safety is prioritized, resourced, and managed. Organizations generally adopt one of four ethical stances, each with different implications for health and safety performance. The first stance is short-term shareholder interests. Under this approach, the organization focuses on short-term financial results and complies only with minimum legal requirements. Health and safety is viewed primarily as a cost, and additional investment in prevention, welfare, or workforce well-being is avoided. While this may reduce short-term costs, it increases the likelihood of accidents, ill health, enforcement action, reputational damage, and long-term business disruption. The second stance is longer-term shareholder interest. This approach still prioritizes shareholders, but recognizes that effective health and safety management supports long-term business success. Organizations adopting this stance may invest in training, well-being initiatives, and sickness absence management, even where legislation does not require it. These actions are often justified as sensible investments that improve productivity, reduce turnover, and minimize future costs. The third stance is multiple stakeholder obligations. Here, the organization recognizes responsibilities to a wider group of stakeholders, including employees, contractors, regulators, customers, communities, and investors. Health and safety becomes a core organizational objective rather than a compliance issue. Performance reporting is more transparent and often includes health and safety alongside financial results, supporting trust, resilience, and sustainable operations. The final stance is shaper of society. At this end of the spectrum, the organization sees itself as having a responsibility to contribute positively to society. Health and safety is treated as a fundamental human right rather than a legal or financial constraint. Financial performance remains important, but is secondary to social outcomes, ethical leadership, and positive influence across industries and supply chains. In summary, an organization's ethical stance strongly shapes its approach to health and safety. Internal stakeholders, such as directors, workers, unions, and contractors, are directly affected by workplace safety performance. External stakeholders, including regulators, communities, investors, and neighbors, are also impacted by failures or successes. Understanding these concerns enables proactive risk management and sustainable organizational decision-making. Internal stakeholder health and safety concerns have a direct impact on how the business functions on a day-to-day basis. Key internal stakeholders include directors, the workforce, trade unions, and contractors. Directors have a strong interest in health and safety because they can be held personally and corporately accountable for serious failures. Poor safety performance exposes directors to legal action, financial penalties, reputational damage, and loss of professional credibility. Directors are also concerned that major incidents can threaten business continuity, investor confidence, and long-term profitability. The workforce has an immediate and personal interest in health and safety. Employees expect safe working conditions, protection from injury and ill health, and fair treatment following incidents. Poor health and safety performance can lead to injuries, chronic illness, reduced morale, and fear of job insecurity if incidents threaten the organization's stability. Trade unions represent workers' interests and have a moral and practical role in safeguarding health and safety. They are concerned with protecting members from harm, ensuring fair treatment, and maintaining confidence in their ability to represent workers effectively. Ongoing safety failures may increase union pressure, disputes, and industrial action. Contractors also have significant health and safety concerns as they rely on the organization for safe systems of work, coordination, and risk control. Poor contractor management can lead to accidents, legal disputes, loss of future work, and damage to professional reputation. Overall, internal stakeholder health and safety concerns directly affect morale, productivity, cooperation, and operational effectiveness. External stakeholders are individuals or groups outside the organization who are affected by its activities and safety performance. Key external stakeholders include regulators, neighbors, shareholders, and investors. Regulators are concerned with ensuring organizations comply with health and safety laws and protect workers and the public from harm. Serious incidents or repeated failures may lead to inspections, enforcement notices, prosecutions, fines, and increased regulatory scrutiny. Neighbors and local communities may be affected by noise, pollution, traffic movement, or major incidents, such as fires, explosions, or chemical releases. Poor health and safety performance can damage community trust, result in complaints, and lead to opposition against the organization's operations or future development. Shareholders and investors are increasingly attentive to health and safety performance as an indicator of effective governance and risk management. Major incidents can lead to financial losses, falling share prices, increased insurance costs, and reduced confidence in leadership. Investors may view weak safety performance as a sign of wider management failings. In summary, external stakeholder concerns emphasize that health and safety failures can extend far beyond the workplace, affecting public confidence, legal standing, financial stability, and the long-term reputation of the organization. Self-regulation involves voluntary adherence to codes, standards, or frameworks established by industries or organizations. Effective self-regulation relies on strong corporate governance, transparency, and leadership commitment. Self-regulatory systems include company codes, trade association codes, multi-stakeholder initiatives, model codes, and intergovernmental codes. When well designed, these systems offer flexibility, industry expertise, rapid adaptation, and strong ownership. Self-regulation refers to voluntary systems where organizations, industries, or professions set and follow their own rules, codes of conduct, or standards, rather than relying solely on government regulation. This slide focuses on the benefits and strengths of self-regulation, particularly in relation to occupational health and safety. One of the key strengths of self-regulation is that codes and standards are often developed by those directly involved in the industry or profession. As a result, they are more likely to reflect real-world risks, operational challenges, and practical solutions. This industry expertise can lead to higher quality health and safety controls than those imposed through generic legislation. Self-regulation can also be quicker to establish and easier to update than statutory regulation. Laws are often slow to change, whereas voluntary codes can be adapted rapidly to reflect new technologies, emerging risks, or changes in industry practice. This flexibility helps organizations respond proactively to health and safety risks, rather than waiting for regulatory intervention. Another advantage is the sense of ownership created by self-regulation. When organizations voluntarily commit to codes of conduct or standards, they are more likely to take responsibility for compliance. This shared ownership can lead to higher levels of engagement, cooperation, and consistent application of health and safety measures across an industry. Self-regulatory approaches can also be cost-effective. They may reduce the need for extensive regulatory oversight and enforcement while still promoting improved standards. In some cases, self-regulation provides quicker and less adversarial routes for resolving issues compared with formal legal processes. Reputation and credibility play an important role in encouraging organizations to self-regulate. Many organizations recognize that strong health and safety performance enhances public trust, customer confidence, and competitive advantage. Voluntary codes and standards can therefore support improved corporate image and long-term business sustainability. Overall, self-regulation can be a powerful tool for improving health and safety performance when it is supported by strong leadership, transparency, and genuine commitment. However, its effectiveness depends on how rigorously it is applied and how well organizations balance commercial interests with their responsibility to protect people from harm. This slide highlights further strengths of self-regulation in managing health and safety. One of the key advantages is that self-regulatory systems can be easily adapted or updated to reflect changing circumstances, emerging risks, or developments within an industry. Unlike legislation, which can be slow and complex to amend, voluntary codes and standards can respond quickly to innovation and new knowledge. In some specialist or professional sectors, self-regulation is particularly effective because it may be difficult or disproportionately expensive for governments to acquire the technical expertise required to regulate effectively. Industry-led standards allow those with practical and specialist knowledge to develop controls that are realistic and relevant to actual working conditions. Self-regulation can also provide a quicker and more cost-effective means of resolving issues, compared with formal legal processes. Problems may be addressed internally through professional bodies or industry mechanisms, without the need for lengthy enforcement or litigation. Another important strength is the close relationship between professionals, industries, and their clients. Trust, credibility, and professional reputation play a significant role in encouraging compliance. Where organizations value their standing within an industry or profession, self-regulation can drive high standards of health and safety performance and support continual improvement. While self-regulation offers flexibility and efficiency, this slide highlights several important limitations that must be recognized. A key weakness is that not all organizations or individuals may participate in self-regulatory schemes. Because compliance is voluntary, some operators may choose not to follow the rules, leading to inconsistent standards and unequal levels of protection. There can also be confusion for consumers and stakeholders about which organizations are covered by self-regulatory arrangements and which are not. This lack of clarity may undermine confidence and make it difficult for stakeholders to assess whether appropriate health and safety standards are being applied. Another concern is the risk of self-interest being placed ahead of public interest. Since self-regulatory systems are often managed by industry bodies, there is a potential for commercial priorities to influence decision-making. This can lead to weak enforcement, reduced transparency, or even anti-competitive behavior that restricts market access beyond what is necessary to protect health and safety. Finally, enforcement arrangements within self-regulatory systems may lack openness and accountability. Without independent oversight, stakeholders may have limited visibility of how rules are enforced or how breaches are handled. Overall, while self-regulation can support improved health and safety performance, it has clear limitations. It is most effective when used alongside strong legislation, regulatory oversight, and external scrutiny to ensure flexibility does not compromise protection. Internal rules and procedures play a key role in regulating health and safety performance beyond basic legal compliance. These include international standardization and voluntary initiatives, recognized health and safety standards, effective management of nonconformities, and strong governance arrangements. International standards and voluntary initiatives provide structured frameworks that promote consistency and recognized good practice across industries and geographical boundaries. They enable organizations to benchmark performance and align their systems with accepted expectations. Health and safety standards translate these frameworks into practical management systems by requiring organizations to identify risks, implement controls, monitor performance, and drive continual improvement. Nonconformity occurs when procedures, legal requirements, or standard expectations are not met. Identifying and addressing nonconformities is essential for learning from failures, correcting weaknesses, and preventing recurrence. Governance underpins all of these mechanisms by ensuring clear accountability, leadership commitment, and integration of health and safety into organizational decision-making. Together, these internal controls support proactive risk management and sustained improvement in health and safety performance. Strong governance brings all internal rules and procedures together and determines how effectively health and safety is integrated into organizational decision-making. Governance defines how authority, responsibility, and accountability are structured, and it shapes the priorities that influence safety performance across the organization. Health and safety management systems are strongly influenced by corporate governance arrangements, business ethics, stakeholder expectations, and cultural context. Where governance is weak, health and safety is often treated as a compliance exercise or delegated responsibility. Where governance is strong, health and safety is embedded into strategic planning, leadership decisions, and organizational objectives. Ethical leadership plays a central role in governance by ensuring that decisions balance financial pressures with the duty to protect workers and others from harm. Stakeholder expectations, including those of employees, regulators, investors, and communities, further influence governance by shaping how risks are identified, managed, and communicated. Cultural context also affects governance, as organizational values and behaviors determine whether policies are genuinely applied or simply documented. An effective governance framework ensures that health and safety responsibilities are clearly defined, performance is monitored, and continual improvement is encouraged. Overall, governance provides the foundation that connects ethics, standards, accountability, and culture, ensuring that health and safety is managed proactively, consistently, and in line with organizational purpose, rather than as a standalone or reactive function.